Alright guys, hey, welcome back. This is Miss Wally and it's Miss Wally's art class, and we are now on the third project that we've had since we've been quarantined on Radial Symmetry. Let's review for a second what you should have so far. In our first project, you were supposed to complete the 1 and 2 point perspective. That is the project that we started in class in school before we had to go out for the quarantine. It was the street scenes. One looks like you're looking down the middle of a street. One looks like you're looking at the corner of the street. Pretty much we had finished that in school. I gave you a week to get caught up and so that you could kind of get used to remote learning. If you haven't sent me these pictures yet, I need them now. The next project that we were working on is depth perspective. Depth perspective is when it looks like you're looking into a hole. So you can send that to me if you're done with that. You might still be working on it. That's okay. This next project is all about radial symmetry, which I'm going to tell you what it is in a minute. This is the last project that we will have before we go on Easter break. So by the Easter break, I should have 3 things. 1 and 2 point perspective pictures, a depth perspective picture, and this radial symmetry project. Remember that this first one is only sketchbook work, so it didn't have to be completely filled out. I just needed to see that you understood how the lines went. The depth perspective should be a completed, finished project. And this radial symmetry will be a completed, finished project. Not just sketch, not just halfway done, not kind of done. Your grade will depend on it. Remember, there's no more participation grades. Your grades are all about the work that you turn in now. Let's review. All symmetries fall under the art principle of balance. So you know there are art elements and there are art principles. We talk about them in class all the time. The art principle of balance is all about the symmetries. We already know 2 of them. We've done it. Symmetry is when it's the same on both sides of a line of symmetry. Asymmetry is when it's not the same on the line of symmetry. And radial symmetry, our new one, is just symmetry around a central axis. You know it. You probably just didn't know what it was called. Here's an example. Symmetry means that line of symmetry, that what's on one side matches the other. So if you put one thing over here, then that thing should match over here. Asymmetry means that they're not the same on both sides. You might have something in this corner, but nothing in this corner or somewhere else on the page. Asymmetry means not the same on both sides. Radial symmetry means not only is it the same on both sides, it's also the same top to bottom. Think of like a snowflake. A snowflake is radial symmetry. Think of a mandala. A mandala is radial symmetry. It matches not only side to side, but top to bottom. Kind of like a circle, right? It looks like it's following a circle, which is why it's called radial. Radial means circle. So it appears that it's following around a circle. All right, ready to begin? Here's how we do it. So you need your sketchbook because you're going to need paper. If you don't have your sketchbook, remember you can use computer paper. Somewhere in your house, there's got to be some paper. If you had to use notebook paper with lines on it, that's fine. If it is your last resort. So first I'm going to start by tearing out 2 pages from this because you're going to need 2 of them. Let me get rid of my sketchbook for a second. So I've got my 2 pages. I'm going to get rid of this rough edge first by cutting it off. Try to cut as straight as you can. We don't have the paper cutter, so we're just going to try to be as straight as we can be. Get that out of the way. And now I have to turn this rectangular paper into a square. And the easiest way to do that is to take this corner from the short side and bend it up to match the other side, like a triangle, right? So it makes a triangle shape right here. Cut this piece off. That will give you a square, right? That's what we need. And remember, I have 2 of them. I'm not going to make you do 2 projects. We just need 2 papers for a reason. You'll see in a minute. So now I have it diagonal symmetry. I'm going to fold it back up. I'm going to fold it in half. I'm going to watch this corner right here that bunches up. I'm going to try not to let it bunch up too much. There we go. And then I need to do it one more time. So it's pretty thick. If it's too thick for you, take it apart and do 1 paper at a time. Because I don't want this corner to bunch up right there. Now, I have 2 papers folded just the same, right? I only need one of them, so I'm going to put one to the side for right now, because all I'm going to do is take this, and I did this just so I could get this triangle shape, so I know that it fits perfectly to the other one. So I'm going to cut one of these triangles out. Obviously, you need to cut on the line. Save this paper, because if you mess this one up, if you mess this little piece up, then you've got 7 other chances. So if this doesn't work out, that's all right. I got another one. You don't have to refold a new piece of paper. But right now, I'm going to put that off to the side. This little paper is where I need to draw my ideas that I'm going to use for radial symmetry. But to make it make more sense, I'm going to show you my finished one first, and then tell you the steps to get to that. Here's my finished one. This is where you go, ooh, ah. I didn't hear you. Thanks. So here I did an insect theme, because it's all bugs, right? That's my theme. You don't have to pick insects. You can pick any theme you want. We'll talk about that in a second. When I did it, here's my triangle. Here's how my triangle would fit into that space. See how it matches up to half of this dragonfly? That means when you draw your items on this little triangle, you're not drawing an entire item. I wouldn't draw the whole dragonfly. I did half of the dragonfly, half of the fly, half of this moth lantern bug thing. Okay? So you're not drawing the whole thing, not the whole whatever you choose. Half of it right on those lines. Okay? So let's put this aside for a second. But I just wanted you to see what we're headed towards. Don't be intimidated. It's not as hard as it looks. On this piece, I'm going to draw my half of a thing. So you saw that I was doing the bugs, but it could be any theme you wanted it to be. Could be candy, could be fish, could be birds, could be flowers, could be planets, could be underwater life. You get to decide what it's going to be. That's up to you. If you chose like ice cream, for example, you would draw half of the ice cream, so that when it flips, it will make the whole ice cream. So I was doing another maybe swirly one over here. Let's do, and it's one of those square cones, right? I'm only drawing half of it so that it ends up whole on the other side. Or if I was drawing, I don't know, a piece of candy to go with it, I'm drawing half of the candy in the wrapper. I'm drawing half of it, so when I flip it, it'll be the whole thing. One side won't get flipped. Whatever's around the edge on the bottom won't get flipped, and that's okay. You only see half, it's fine. You don't have to have every detail in this. When you see my finished one, there's a ton of detail in that, right? But a lot of that is detail that I added after I was all done transferring the image. This is my original piece. There's the half of a dragonfly. There's the half of fly. There's the half of that moth lantern bug thing. A couple little designs in the corners just to fill up space. If I put it on here, you'll see how it matches up. And you can see when it's next to the other one, how I did not do all the designs, all the shading, all of that until I had finished the whole thing. So how do I get this to this? Here we go. I'm going to show you step by step. I'm going to go back to my other paper that I folded, and I am going to transfer this image to here. Now, if we were in school, I would give you some transfer paper and it would be easy peasy, but we're not in school, and you probably don't have transfer paper in your house. If you do, by some magic, then you would just put some transfer paper under here, transfer it, but remember that you need to flip when you do the other side. The other way to do this in your house and make it as easy as possible for you is to do what's called the light box method. And the light box method is putting it up to something bright so that this piece shows through here. When it shows through, then I can trace it and move it along. When it moves along to the next one, I can't just move it like this, right? It wouldn't match up. It needs to flip like the page in a book. So when I do it, one time it's going to be underneath like this, one time it'll be upside down. You might think I'm not going to be able to see it, but when it's up against the window, you will see it. And I'm going to demonstrate that in a second. All right, guys, so here I am at my window. That's my yard. Say hi to my yard. So this is what we're going to do. I'm taking my paper up to the window like a light box, and the light's coming from behind it. I'm going to put this underneath of it, not on top, underneath the section that matches it, like a triangle fits in right there. Make sure it's in the point, make sure it's inside of the space. You can see how I can see through it. I'm going to hold it up and just trace what I see. Take your time, because if you don't trace it right here, it's not going to look right when you're all done. So take your time, follow your lines. I'm not going to lie, your hand's going to get tired. Take a break when you need to. You can always put it back and get it in the right spot. Of course, I did a design that has a lot of lines. Whoops. Oh, that's a good thing. So see how mine fell? Right now, I'm just going to put it back in where it was. Don't panic. Don't think you got to start all over. Just get it back. Match it back up as best as you can. It might not be perfect. And continue finishing your drawing. All right, once you've gotten one little piece of your pie done here, you're ready to move on to the next piece. So I have one section done. I need to now move to this section. Remember, I'm not just going to move it over because nothing's matching up and it's not going to fit. I need to flip it. Put it underneath. You might think I'm not going to be able to see it. It's on the back. You'll see it. There's light coming through your window. You'll see it. Match it up. We're not going to worry if it doesn't match perfectly. Like if you look at my fly here, he's not matching up perfectly. I'm still going to just trace what I see as best as I can. And I'm kind of hurrying so I can get through this to show you the next step. You would take your time, do it right. Almost there. Remember, I'm hurrying, don't hurry. If you hurry, I'll know it when I look at it. Now it's two sections done, and you can see how it's coming together. And if I continued and flipped back again, my pieces are starting to match up. So I'm going to just start this one a little bit just so you can see how it matches. And I would continue this process around all 8 sections, flipping back and forth to get the whole design. So I'm going to stop right there, but you can see how my dragonfly is coming together right there. And if I continue this process, it's going to keep on matching up. Okay, we're back from the window. And this is what I was doing at the window, going back and forth, flipping it back and forth. When you're all done and you get around the whole thing, you'll have that, right? That is the whole thing done. This is a photograph of mine. It's just too much for me to do all over again, but that's a photograph of it. That's the same thing before I added all the shading and value in. But let me walk through the steps one more time with you. The first thing I did was create the little piece, right? The second thing I did was hold it up to the window and trace the first side. The second thing after that, third thing I did was start flipping it to make it match. I want to show you what to do if this happens. Like my fly, just no matter what I would do, was not going to match up right? He looks like this. A lot of times when I traced him, he looked like that. Definitely not matched up. That's okay. It's all in pencil. And the next step of this is to go over everything with a pen, a black marker, whatever you have available in your house. Even if it's just a pencil and you just need to do the pencil darker, you would join what's not really joined. So where it's not here, you would make it match up, like in this picture. You can still see my pencil lines in here where I forced it to fit, where I forced it to match. So don't worry about places like this that don't match. You'll be able to fix that when you go and you trace over it, right? Once you trace all over it and you get the whole thing done and it's all matched up, it looks like that. I erased all the extra pencil lines. So my other thing was I just took there and I erased all the pencil lines so that it was nice and clean, because no matter how careful you think you are tracing, there's going to be pencil lines that show. So take a second and clean off all the extra pencil lines. Once you get to this part where it's just kind of almost like a coloring book page, you get to decide what happens next. If you have markers, crayons, colored pencils at home, you're welcome to color this in. If you don't have that stuff, then just use a pencil. On my finished one you saw, it's all pencil and pen. There's no crayon in here, there's no special tools in here. I am trying to use the same materials that you have available at home. So you can see on that one, all I did was add things like little dots or some shading to help it look more dimensional. Colored some spots in. I used marker, a combination of marker and pencil, so that it came out finished like this. So if you use little things like dots, lines, coloring in, shading, all of that stuff will help to make it more sophisticated looking and more completed looking. Because if you turn in something like this, then I would say, it's not quite done. You haven't done anything else to it. It's just a line drawing. I don't want it to just be a line drawing. I want it to have color or value or textures or shading, patterns, something that's going to make it more complete. I did another one that I'm going to show you. Hold on. Here was my piece. This one I did the theme of flowers. So you can see I did half a flower designs on there. And when I repeated that, and this time I used some colored pencils that I had at home. And here's how that one came out. It doesn't have to be complicated. Flowers are certainly not complicated. My bug one might be a little more complicated than some of the other ones. But I knew that I wasn't going to be using color on this, and so I wanted to make sure that it looked completed. This one has some colored pencil in it, so I didn't have to have as many little details like patterns and textures on it. I was starting another one, just never got around to finishing it. It's a little more complicated because it might be hard to tell what it is, but it is the beginning of an elephant face. And I'm just beginning to get him traced in. I just never got around to getting that one finished. Believe me, having to do all this extra stuff for you guys is killing me. So, your job for this project is to create a radial symmetry project based on whatever theme you choose. Insects, flowers, elephants, animals, cars, planets, whatever you can think of. If you have any questions, you know how to get in touch with me. But it seems like lately I've had a lot of people saying, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do. So, do you need help? Have no fear, Miss Wally is here. You can text me on the Remind app. You can email me. You can go to my Zoom every morning at 9:30 a.m. There is no reason not to do the work. You can get in touch with me some way. Miss Wally, I'm stuck. Miss Wally, I don't know what to do after this. Send me a picture and I'll walk you through it. This remote thing is not easy for any of us, but we're going to get through it. But you have to reach out. If you don't reach out, then I don't think you need any help. I believe that you're just looking at the instructions online and you're good. So reach out if you need help. Stay in touch, stay in contact. Come to me on my Zoom. Come just to say hi. Right, guys? that's it. So good luck. Reach out to me if you need help.